Welcome to the fabulous Hume Castle. Since the 13th century, this castle has dominated the landscapes between the River Tweed and the Lammermuir Hills. In its lifetime, the castle has been part of a cross-section of both Scottish and English history. So let's get into it. There are over 500 clan and family associations registered around the world, and we love learning new bits of history and hearing from our customers about how they explored their heritage and traced their roots. We are by no means experts, just keen to share information. We love digging into the often bloody and brutal stories, highlighting the lesser known bits of Scottish clan history and the work of the clan societies around the world. So don't hesitate to get in touch if we've got anything wrong or you have more to add. Good evening everyone, and welcome to another episode of On the Sofa. I'm Amy and I work in our marketing department, and joining me today is Jonny to talk about all things Clan Hume, our clan of the month for September.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm Jonny and I'm currently a student at the University of Glasgow studying history and business, and I'm currently interning here at ScotlandShop through the Saltire Scholarship. We've been celebrating all things Clan Hume, so join us as we delve into this clan's history and discover some of the most intriguing stories and learn what their clan has been up to in the more recent years and the old. We've been learning some of their most memorable battles, famous faces, old and new, and so much more. We always welcome your input, so if you're associated to Clan Hume in any way and you have stories to share, don't hesitate to let us know in the comments below.
So we were actually supposed to be filming this episode at Hume Castle, as it's only a short drive away from the ScotlandShop HQ, but it is very wet, typical Scottish weather, so we are in the office today. But since the 13th century, Hume Castle has dominated the landscape between the River Tweed and the Lammermuir Hills. In its lifetime, the castle has been part of a cross-section of both Scottish and English history. No victorious army could afford to risk the recapture of such a valuable strategic position, which meant the castle was burned and destroyed many times. So the way you see the castle today is not its original form.
So let's go back to the beginning. The lands of Hume were first granted as a dowry to Ada, who was a daughter of Patrick the Earl of Dunbar in 1214, when she married her first husband, William D. Courtney. I will be butchering some names, so don't be too particular. So her first husband died in around 1217, and 2 years later she married Theobald, the French name I can't really say, but he also died. Sorry. So then she done something that was a bit odd in today's life. She married her cousin, William, the son of Patrick of Greenlaw, not far from where we are now in Duns, in the town of Greenlaw, of course, who is the descendant of many great kings such as William the Lion, King Ethelred the Daneslayer, and if you're a fan of Amazon's The Viking, you will know exactly who he is. And he assumed in their right the name of Hume.
So as you can see from the clips, the view from this castle is unbelievable, and whilst being a pretty sight to see, this is why the castle was so important. With this viewpoint, the castle became the major defensive structure in the eastern section of the borders, which is often referred to as the Merse. From here you can see east right across the coast on a clear day, and to the west to the Eildon Hills and Melrose with Smailham Tower and Pinel Heugh with the Waterloo Monument atop. The Lords of Hume used this to their advantage, as they were soon placed wardens of the eastern marches, policing the Scottish side of the border, which is not a job I would take, especially throughout this time.
Yeah, one thing I do question, when you're at the top of Hume Castle, why is there a Battle of Waterloo monument in the borders of Scotland?
I'm not sure.
If anyone knows, please let us know, because I tried to Google it yesterday and I figured out nothing, so any help would be great, thanks. Being less than 5 miles from the English border, this great castle was often used as a position to attack the other side of the border. Most famously, King James II used Hume Castle as his base whilst attempting to destroy Roxburgh Castle in 1460, when it was currently held by the English army. He was using cannons imported from Flanders, and on the 3rd of August, one of these cannons, known as the Lion, exploded and killed the king. This death does feel something that would be used in horrible history's stupid deaths.
So soon began the War of the League of Cambria, a terrible name for a war, but we'll move on. In the lead up to this war in 1513, Lord Hume led 7,000 border reivers across the border to raid English farms and villages. Lord Hume was achieving great success with his raiding all across the borders, but little did they know their luck was about to run out. Whilst plundering through Northumbria, weighed down by the gold they had stolen, the English were waiting. The English hid in broom bushes and waited for the Scottish forces to pass, then slaughtered over 600 Scotsmen. The interesting thing about this story is that brooms are actually Hume's clan badge. Coincidence or planned, who knows?
So after this attack, luckily Lord Hume escaped. But he hadn't escaped the war, as his castle was also witness to the aftermath of the Battle of Flodden, which was a fateful day in the history of Scotland. On the 9th of September 1513, the largest battle ever between the English and Scotland occurred. Tensions had been rising between the bordering countries due to the English monarch's membership in the Catholic League. Soon the French waged war against the English, and King James IV had the option to honour the Old Alliance or the Treaty of Perpetual Peace. The world watched and waited for the decision that could change the history of Scotland and the entire history of Europe. King James IV made a daring decision and soon arrived at the English border with 40,000 men. The Earl of Surrey met the Scottish forces and quickly outmanoeuvred and defeated the Scots, killing the king. The Earl of Surrey met the Scottish forces and quickly outmanoeuvred and defeated the Scots, killing the king. Legend has it Alexander, the third Lord of Hume, who during the battle had withdrawn his troops from the field after successfully attacking the English right flank, took possession of the king's body and hid it in a cave adjoining the well at Hume Castle. And you'll be able to see on screen now, there's the well that apparently it was found. 200 years later, the body of the king was never recovered until workers on the reconstruction of Hume Castle ventured into the caves underneath the castle, and there lay a man with an iron chain around his waist. We will never know if this was really the body of the king, but either way, it is a great story.
It really is a great story. So after this battle, Lord Hume was falsely accused of plotting against the infant James V and the Regent Albany, as his power with the borders at this time had risen to such a high level. He was tricked into appearing in Edinburgh, where he was arrested and executed, along with his younger brother William, in 1516. This was when the castle was handed over to Antoine d'Arcs.
I think we've got that wrong, but we'll move on.
Okay.
Well done.
Chevalier de la Bastille, who made him deputy governor of the district and the new warden of the marches.
Just a quick comment on that at this time he was pretty much the king who never was. That's what he's referred to, because he pretty much did rule, but there wasn't such a significant pullover as a name, but he was pretty much the ruler after the battle.
Okay. So the strength within the family was now moved to Wedderburn Castle, just 20 minutes from where we are now. This was a sept of the family named the Humes of Wedderburn, who had a deep-rooted hatred for their new leader, as the father and eldest son of this family both died during the Battle of Flodden. An interesting fact here, between 1413 to 1576, all of the eldest sons of this family were murdered in battle. The great Sir Walter Scott went on to name the children who all fought at Flodden as the Seven Spears of Wedderburn.
Yeah, I think that fact really shows the brutality of the borders at this time, with the constant battle between the two countries after Flodden, and then all of a sudden we have Cromwell, so it was all moving fast and all dying fast, which is not great. With the castle gone, Lord Hume's kinsman and Sir David Hume of Wedderburn were enraged and wanted vengeance. So when Chevalier de Bastille, butchered it again, arrived to discuss the Humes' siege on Langton Castle, the Hume chased the lord to Duns, where they chopped his head off and left it in Duns Market Cross.
Wow.
I know. Extremely. So as brutal as this is, this was the way of the world, especially at this time. And it worked. That was the issue when we look back at it. Because after this, the Lords of Hume got their castle back, but sadly he later died.
So the castle did not stay in the hands of Humes for long, as for the next 150 years the castle changed hands constantly. Luckily, we're here with a quick summing up. The fifth Lord of Hume was captured at the Battle of Pinkie, and his mother and the castle were taken hostage. The English flooded the castle with money, hoping to create a stronghold, but not too long after, Alexander the fifth Lord of Hume escaped and recaptured his castle and saved his mother.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to make a joke, but I lost it. Okay, either way, soon came the reign of Mary, Queen of Scots. The Hume were initially against her reign, even citing her order of imprisonment. But the Lord soon changed his mind and became one of her largest supporters, with the Queen even enjoying the hospitality of the castle on her final journey to England in 1567, and we all know how that journey went. So after this, the Lord Hume joined her loyal garrison at Edinburgh Castle, which fell, and he was subsequently killed 2 years later.
Oh.
I know, not great.
No. This could definitely be looked at as the beginning of the end for this historic castle, as around this time Oliver Cromwell was on the rise. Cromwell's method of slighting castles that held strength saw the destruction of hundreds of beautiful castles in Scotland and Ireland. Hume Castle was one of these castles, as in February 1651, by bombardment at close range, the Parliamentaries destroyed the castle.
Yeah, so this slighting method can be seen all around the borders especially, but the scary thing is, especially at that time, it was looked upon as if the Scottish were let off lightly. So if you go to Ireland, the amount of castles that were slighted doubles, triples the amount that were done in Scotland at the time. Sorry, the phone went off.
Oh wow, so Hume Castle is not that bad if you see castles in Ireland then?
Yeah, because he didn't have the same anger against them, because he was a lot more motivated by religion in Ireland, where that was obviously motivated here, but it was not to the same extent.
Oh, interesting.
After being used as a checkpoint in the later Jacobite Rising, the castle was not really involved in any major battles after this time. At this point, Clan Hume had moved their seat to Hursel, having purchased the Hursel estate from Clan Kerr. Generation after generation of the Hume family continued to grow and support the wildlife within their estate, and their love for wildlife, they built the Hursel Lake in 1785, which now forms Hursel Country Park. A lovely place for a walk if you're in the area. The lake has become a lovely, famous place for bird watching, hosting over 170 species, which were all documented in Henry Douglas Hume's, also known as the Birdman, not to be confused with the movie. Another interesting part of this body of water is something that you've probably noticed. It's a lake, not a loch, making it one of the few bodies of water in Scotland named that, which is, I'm not really sure of the reason, so if any Humes know, please let us know, but it's interesting to see that. Maybe it's because we're on the border, but who knows?
Maybe, yeah. So the Hume family still wanted to see the castle, so in the 18th century, the then Lord of the Hume, maybe just Lord of Hume.
Yeah,
okay.
That's...
The Hume family still wanted to see the castle, so in the 18th century, the then Lord Hume rebuilt the castle as a folly to be later used as a warning station during the Napoleonic Wars. In 1804, when a sergeant in the Berkshire Volunteers was on watch in the midst of the night, he saw charcoal burners, and in panic he ordered that the great fire be lit. Soon came 3,000 brave Scotsmen ready to face the short but dominant king. But he never arrived. Hume Castle still stands to this day and is open for visitors, so I would definitely recommend a visit, even if it is only for the fantastic views from the top.
I do find that quite funny, and also shows how terrified everyone was of Napoleon. How would he get to the borders of Scotland before they would hear from anywhere down south? They were crazy at the time, but you've got to respect it.
Definitely.
Now to the modern day, to our favourite thing here at ScotlandShop, tartan. Hume tartan is mainly pink, green and blue, and you can see this on my tie, and then you'll also probably see a few on screen. So we at ScotlandShop have two different variations of this tartan, coming in both the ancient and modern tartans.
The current chief of Clan Hume is Michael, the 16th Earl of Hume. The Hume chiefs in recent memory have all been great politicians, with his father, David Hume, being a member of the House of Lords and was even made a Knight of the Thistle, Scotland's highest order of chivalry. David Hume became chief after his father, Sir Alex Douglas Hume, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who passed away in 1995.
The clan also have some fascinating individuals, most famously John Hume, another politician. There must be something in the water. John is renowned as one of the most important figures in Irish history. He was born in 1937 and entered into an Irish Catholic family in Derry. He trained as a priest as a teen, but eventually left the priesthood to join the civil rights movement, and as the Troubles began. John cut his political teeth as a leader of the Northern Irish civil rights movement as a grassroots campaign dedicated to ending housing, unemployment, and voter discrimination against Catholics. John was extremely inspired by the teachings of MLK, which led him to follow a policy of peace, which was, as we know, extremely not popular in Northern Irish history at this time, making him both an enemy of the IRA and the Unionists. For over 20 years, Hume stuck to his morals and even convinced Gerry Adams to move the IRA's politics towards a path of non-violence, and the Good Friday Agreement followed. For ending this brutal war in Ireland, John was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, the Gandhi Peace Prize, the Martin Luther King Award, and Pope Benedict himself awarded him the Order of St. Gregory the Great Award.
Wow,
I
that's
know.
a lot of awards. So there we have it. We hope you've enjoyed learning about the Hume family with us. If you'd like to test your knowledge with all these new facts, keep a lookout for our Hume quiz coming soon. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, email newsletter and social media for more clan content.
Thanks.
Bye.